Hi, I'm Sarah Wright, and this is my presentation on Ruth Ann Rehfeldt. Dr. Ruth Ann Rehfeldt is an award-winning professor who currently works at Southern Illinois University in Rehabilitation Services and the Behavior Analysis Therapy Program. She holds a PhD and a master's from the Behavior Analysis Program in Psychology at the University of Nevada and a bachelor's in psychology from the University of Puget Sound. She is also a board-certified behavior analyst. She holds awards as Rehabilitation Institute Teacher of the Year, Teacher of the Year for the education of the College of Education and Human Services, and the Researcher of the Year Award for the College of Education and Human Services. Dr. Rehfeldt currently teaches courses in single-subject research design, behavioral assessment and observation methods, and radical behaviorism. Dr. Rehfeldt has authored over 100 articles and book chapters, primarily in the areas of stimulus equivalence and verbal relations, autism, developmental disabilities, and verbal behavior. She is the current editorial board member for the Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis, Journal of the Experimental Analysis of Behavior, the Behavior Analyst, Education and Treatment of Children, International Journal of Psychology and Psychological Therapy, and the European Journal of Behavior Analysis. She is the co-founder, program chair, and past president of the Mid-American Association for Behavior Analysis. She is the editor and business manager for the Psychological Record, for which Skinner was one of the first editorial board members. She also co-authored a book with Yvonne Barn-Holmes, which is entitled Derived Relational Responding, Applications for Learners with Autism and Other Developmental Disabilities, A Progressive Guide to Change. And their book provides intervention programs in human language and cognition targets for students with autism and other developmental disabilities. It's a step-by-step guide that helps students learn relationally. Relationally meaning that students learn to respond to relative stimuli rather than characteristics of stimuli. Relational learning allows students to not respond to the same discriminative stimulus each time. Instead, this teaches them to relate stimuli to produce the same response. It allows them to relate stimuli to produce the same response. This guide provides interventions to help students acquire language skills and ways to enhance their receptive and expressive repertoires, while developing their reading, spelling, and grammar skills. Their book then helps teach higher order cognitive functioning and social functions, such as creativity, perspective taking, empathy, etc. These methods are the first to provide ABA training guides to teach language and cognition to directly address these key domains. Dr. Rehfeldt's relevance and importance to our class and the field. Her current research interests include private events, mindfulness, as well as technology-enabled instruction in higher education. She specializes in basic and applied investigations of verbal behavior, developmental disabilities, behavioral theory and philosophy, stimulus relations, and technology-based instruction. She works in collaboration currently with adults with intellectual disabilities, as well as typically developing children, with Trinity Services, Inc., and specialized training and adult rehabilitation. She provides care for individuals with special needs. So Dr. Rehfeldt has published studies on stimulus equivalence associated with distance learning with undergraduate and graduate students, the blocking effect, teaching emotional recognition in patients with traumatic brain injury, and manding skills in adults with developmental disabilities. Stimulus equivalence is a common theme in her literature. However, she applies it to all types of populations. She observes that the influence of stimulus equivalence can be applied and effective with typical individuals, not just those with developmental disabilities. I would have liked the opportunity to interview Dr. Rehfeldt and inquire more about her interest in stimulus equivalence, since it was a recent topic in our course. I was unable to interview her. She did not respond to my emails, sadly. But she has also published research in verbal behavior and the effects of behavioral skills applied with students with and without special needs. She participated in a recent study by Stroley, Rehfeldt, and Aguirre, and they examined children with autism learning behavioral skills only by observing another peer with autism being taught those skills. So currently there is no research on the possible effects of learning through observation alone. The results of their study actually showed that all skills were acquired by both children with autism successfully, showing the effects of observational learning and verbal behavior. Her research fits patterns in the domain she specifies in, but I think the interesting part is that she takes those methods and transfers them to various populations. She also has published research using stimulus equivalence in distance education for graduate and undergraduate students. This would have been another great topic to discuss with Dr. Rehfeldt if I had the opportunity to. Her research in distance education uses equivalence groups. In one study, she used an equivalence group compared to a reading group to see if students can learn effectively using an online equivalence procedure. So both groups, opposed to sitting in class and engaged in class or being assigned reading a chapter. Both groups were tested, and the results suggested that performance on section-based tests were enhanced in the equivalence group. The equivalence group actually performed 10 percentage points above the reading group, which ended up being a full letter grade. So these were some of the things that I thought were interesting in her research, and I would have liked to discuss with her, particularly because we just recently studied stimulus equivalence in our class, and that we are distance education students participating in a graduate program. So that would have been interesting if I had the opportunity to. But thank you for your attention, and that's it.